Hello, hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome to the Cloud English podcast. My name is Luke. It is Saturday, April 8th, 2032, and we have, I think, a great episode today. A lot of interesting stuff coming up. We're going to be looking at some science behind language learning. Yes, there's actually a lot of science done to understand the right ways, the wrong ways to learn and master languages, right? I don't do any of that science. It's pretty boring, but I can report on it. And what's interesting is I think there's an interesting convergence. A lot of the stuff that I've seen firsthand help English learners improve their English is actually pretty much everything completely backed up by the science. So that's my sort of life experience, work experience, making courses, helping English learners, converging with a lot of the empirical science that's done. And it's not like, I've been necessarily basing everything that I do in courses on a specific scientific paper, but based on what's working, right? So I've always used that approach of, well, this works. And then over time, I found, wow, there's actually this great overlap. And maybe not in every single thing, but pretty much. And I think that's very interesting. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. We're also going to be getting into ChatGPT and how you might be able to use it as a language partner. I'm going to teach you how to train ChatGPT as a language partner. By the way, I tried the same thing with Bing Chat. It did not work. Bing Chat, I find, still has many limitations, and ChatGPT is just better in a lot of ways right now at the sort of time of speaking. What else? We're going to be looking at a scene from Breaking Bad, so that should be interesting. We're going to be learning some useful words and phrases from that. I hope that will be useful, insightful, enlightening. And what else? If you haven't already done so, you can join the Discord. That is in the links in the description. The Discord is a community. I share updates there. I post stuff there. So that's a good place to be. I also post a word of the day there. So if you want to get a word of the day, some insights, I'm going to be very soon starting grammar of the day posts. So if you want to get some daily English stuff going, that's a good place to be, and it's free. And also the best place to honestly get in touch with me if you have questions and so on. A lot of people private message me on Discord for questions that they might have. Let's see. Also, if you don't mind, right at the start, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere else, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, of course, so that you can see future live podcasts and videos that I post on the channel. If you're listening to this later, welcome. It's great to have you. I'm glad more and more people are listening. That's fantastic. If you want, you can check us out on YouTube or Facebook, but YouTube is probably better. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, if you want to listen, you can do that. That's also in the links in the description. You can also get a free course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description as well. All right, well, I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend thus far, whether retroactive or otherwise. I am. After this, I'm going to be going to a place to do a thing. That's right. Believe it or not, that's what's going to happen. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be talking about sort of science today. Not sort of science. Science. I should be more confident about that. Science! We're going to be talking about science today. And we'll also be getting into some grammar. Believe it or not, sounds boring, but hopefully not. I'm going to try my best to make it as non-boring as I possibly can. Okay, okay. And to those watching live, welcome. I see we have a few people joining. I see you, Mohammed and Ananya and Rose. Hello, welcome. Good to have you here. Okay. So let's get into our first topic of the day. And it's about confidence and the importance of confidence. It sounds cheesy and weird, but it really does matter. So let's get into that. So you know that confidence is important. Everyone knows that confidence has a role to play in how well you do something, how well you can learn or master something, how well you can interact in a situation, right? But is that real? It doesn't feel tangible, right? You can't grab onto confidence. Well, I want to talk about directly, measurably, how important confidence is when it comes to learning and mastering English. Now, in the scientific literature, this tends to be called instead self-efficacy. Now, self-efficacy is just another way to say confidence. And there are a number of reputable papers and books that support this idea of self-efficacy being a very important factor in the mastery of a language, period. But what role does it play? That's what we're going to talk through. And then I'm going to share at the end of this what you can do next, because the advice, be more confident, is not particularly helpful, right? Because you can't just will yourself to be more confident. Well, this concept of self-efficacy comes from a book from Albert Bandura called Social Cognitive Theory. And it was written decades and decades ago. And the basic points, I think, are very important and have been independently supported by a lot of other studies and papers on language learning. And I encourage you to try to look those up and find those as well. But really the sort of groundbreaking, we could say, or the sort of benchmark is this original book, Social Cognitive Theory. So first is the idea that confidence boosts motivation. And I think if you reflect on that, you'll find that it tends to be true, right? If you feel confident, especially if your confidence improves over time, then you're going to be more likely to do the next step. And low confidence is more likely to cause you to not take the next step. And this is really important. And I see this a lot where someone who has a pretty high level of English will always focus on the negative. I'm not good enough. I'm not fluent enough. I can't have conversations. And the thing that I tend to notice in these people who always focus on the negative is that they basically prevent themselves from being confident. And the outcome of this tends to be not engaging in that online conversation, not maybe pushing themselves to do something uncomfortable, right? That would have made them better, like do a presentation at work, because they feel like I'm not good enough, but in the future I will be, maybe, I hope, maybe not, probably not. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm terrible. The ones who are confident don't stress about all the negative things about their English level. They're not perfect. They're always improving, but they believe in themselves. And as a result, they see the next scary thing as a challenge rather than a wall. And I think that's extremely important. And that ties into the next part, which is that if you can build confidence, it helps you overcome anxiety and then makes you more likely to engage with others. Now, it should go without saying that you learn a language usually to communicate with other people. At work, conversations in general, getting around, handling problems, all of that, right? And if you feel more and more confident, if you believe in yourself, if you believe, hey, you know what? This is just for communication. If I'm not perfect, that's fine. I can handle anything, or at least I can try. Then you're actually more likely to not be held back by the anxiety, often that comes from social situations and big challenges. A lot of people who struggle with confidence prevent themselves from engaging with others because they fear judgment. And as a result of that fear of judgment, they have this anxiety that keeps them inside of their shell and prevents them from going outside their comfort zone. Well, if you go outside your comfort zone, you learn a lot, you challenge yourself, and you get better, right? So we're going to get to tips, but I would urge you to think about whether or not the way you feel when confronted with a challenging situation, whether the opportunity to engage with colleagues at work or in your daily life or whatever, I would encourage you to reflect on whether there's anything holding you back that's from you rather than from others. And if it is from you, what steps can you take, at even baby steps, to get outside of that comfort zone? And once you get outside of that comfort zone, what you're going to find is that the comfort zone grows and grows and grows and grows, and eventually you start to build confidence as a kind of snowball effect. And that's how you do it, essentially, right? The other important point about confidence in general, right, is about the speed of improvement. The studies that I have found and looked at show pretty clearly that those people who are communicating more, those people who are pushing themselves, their speed of improvement is much, much faster. So it's not just about pushing yourself so that you can learn something new. No, it's about pushing yourself so that you can increase the speed of progress, that you can actually get better way, way faster. I one time saw a learner who lacked so much confidence that they didn't improve over a several-year period, even though they were studying every day. So if you want to get the most out of what you're studying, out of what you're actually learning in the background, words, phrases, grammar, all that stuff, which is good, you should do that. Those who are connecting more, those who are putting themselves outside of their comfort zone, have a much faster rate of progress. Think of the stuff you learn as fuel, right? But fuel by itself doesn't do anything, right? It has to be part of inside of a machine that goes somewhere. Well, the machine that goes somewhere, like a car, could just sit there. So if you never drive it, you never use the fuel. I'm not sure if this is a perfect analogy, but you have to use the fuel in order for the fuel to be useful for you. If it just sits there, oh, I learned 12 million words, fantastic. But if you're not using it, then it's just sitting there and it's not making you a more effective communicator. It's not making you better, right? Another piece of this is resilience and persistence. Now, I think this is something that's often not focused on, not given enough attention, because someone who struggles with confidence is often the first person to give up if they face humiliation, if they feel like they're not making progress, right? So you feel, I'm not good enough. Okay, I'm not good enough. Okay, so why do this? I'll learn something else. These people tend to go from thing to thing. I'll do a little of this. I'm not good at that. And then I'll do a little of this. I'm not that good at that one. And as a result, they learn a little bit of everything and don't get really good at anything, right? This is sort of giving up syndrome, we could call it. And the problem with that is that if you ever want to get anywhere, you have to be persistent. But if you're not confident and always giving up, and you're not persistent, you're not consistent, then you're never getting anywhere, and so your wheels are just spinning, right? But if you have that confidence, you're more likely to stick with it, right? Yes, I'm not perfect right now, but I believe that I can get better. I believe that I can actually figure out how to express myself clearly or give a great English presentation, for example, right? Those who believe that they will get better, bizarrely, are the ones who tend to get better. And those who believe that they won't get better are the ones who tend to not get better. That's how it is. So that's the power of your mentality. That's the power of your thoughts. And if you don't understand how important your thoughts are, then you're likely to just sort of flounder around. You have to have thoughts that are pointing you in the direction of progress rather than thoughts that are sort of holding you back, right? And that may just be a conscious choice that you can make. Anytime those things come up that are preventing you from believing in yourself, those negative thoughts, try to put them out of your mind. At least don't dwell on them, right? Don't let them constantly blind you to how great things could be if your English were much, much better. And this, I think, ties into the concept of feeding the wolves. There's this old Cherokee proverb about the wolf you feed is the one that grows inside of you. I think it was a young person asking an older person, I feel like I have a war going on inside of me. There's a light half and a dark half. How do I prevent the dark side from winning? Or which one of these will win? Or something like that. And the answer of the older, wiser person was, the one that you feed will win. So this is very important as a concept for confidence or self-efficacy. The wolf you feed is the one that grows. If you feed the wolf of, I can't do it, I won't make it, I'm not good enough, that one will grow inside of you, thus holding you back. If you feed the wolf that is, I can do it, I can get better, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to improve, that's the one that grows. So in a sense, you can decide which wolf to feed. It's a sort of gradual process of, you know what, negative thoughts are coming up. I'm not going to focus on those. I'm not going to dwell on those. And over time, you sort of get into the habit of not doing that, right? So you can make a conscious choice to start, at least, to not have those sort of negative thoughts that are always down on yourself, right? And the other thing that the studies have found is that confidence really affects the choice of learning strategies. So someone who makes choices based on what's comfortable in their comfort zone, we've talked about that a lot, will choose things that are not necessarily useful, but that are just comfortable. And that's often stuff you can do by yourself, studying grammar patterns and studying a bunch of vocabulary and phrases. There's nothing wrong with that, but people who lack confidence, and this again is backed up by the literature, tend to be less effective in choosing and adopting good learning strategies. But those who have that self-efficacy tend to think a little bit more clearly about what's actually getting them closer to the next step. A little more objectively, well, this isn't working for me, or I've hit a plateau, or I've reached a point where I have diminishing returns. Diminishing returns is when you do something that works, but then at some point it kind of stops working, and that happens a lot with language learning. Well, this got me up to here, but now I feel like I've plateaued, I'm not getting any better, and that's because you need to adopt different strategies. So someone who's looking at the bigger picture and seeing themselves on top of the mountain is able to quickly make that change of, okay, that's not working, so I'm going to do that much, much less, and I'm going to look at 3 new strategies, 3 other things that I can do to push myself to get better, right? And confidence is sort of a thing that can drive you to do that. So very important to improve your confidence or your self-efficacy. To do this, you want to focus on achievable goals, right? That means choosing goals that you actually can reach rather than things that are so far over the horizon that it's like impossible. So if you say, my goal is to be a native speaker, well, good luck. It's probably not going to happen. Manage your expectations and your goals so that they're actually within your reach, so that you can see, okay, I am getting better. If you choose something which is way, way, way over the horizon, maybe not even possible, you are less likely to be confident, right? You also want to consider getting feedback from others. I've said this many times, but getting good feedback from your fellow learners, from friends, from teachers is a great way to push yourself to see things that you didn't notice, right? To get some objective sort of comments or some objective feedback on what you've been doing, and then push yourself further. But you want to make sure that that feedback is at least somewhat supportive. You want to make sure that that feedback is not tearing you down. So, make sure that if you have a relationship with a teacher or with a friend, make sure that the feedback is given to you in a way that you can use it rather than in a way that's just going to make you feel sad, right? You also want to think about what your environment is, right? Can you create more of an English environment, an immersive environment? And there are lots of ways to do it. Even if it's just on the internet, there are so many ways to do that, right? So try to build out your immersive English environment and celebrate when you make progress, right? If you make progress, be honest with yourself. A lot of people who tend to have a negative outlook of themselves, even when they make really good progress, they say, well, I don't know, it doesn't really count, right? Celebrate. Say, hey, I made this step. I went from a 5 to 6 on the IELTS test or whatever it is, right? Celebrate that, because that is one of the factors that helps you build confidence when you see that you're actually making progress along a specific path, right? So it plays confidence, self-efficacy. This plays a vital role in language learning, right? It influences your motivation, your willingness to communicate, your resilience, right? Having confidence really is going to make the whole experience better. But again, there's that just be more confident thing that's really hard to say. You can't just be more confident. There I would again bring you back to the poorly told analogy about the two wolves, right? This is a gradual process. Think of those negative, down on myself, positive, confident, believe in myself as two separate wolves that you're feeding or not feeding, and you want to feed the wolf that's going to build your confidence, not the wolf that's going to constantly drag you down, okay? So let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you have any questions about building confidence or what your issues around language learning are, if they somehow involve confidence and your attitude toward learning. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course, Natural English Conversations, in the links in the description. All right. Okay. So I just want to check one thing. If you have any questions about this, those watching live, let me know. Ice Block, yes, we are live. Nahat, hello. Mohammed, confidence is the stone that reflects your personality while you're doing your work. I like that. I like that. Retta, hello. Hello, everybody. Good to have you here. And again, those listening, I'm glad we have people listening. I'm glad we have listeners. Some people simply prefer to listen, and I would be one of those people. I'm more of a listener. I don't necessarily like watching full videos, right? So, awesome. Also, YouTube recently launched a new feature that allows creators to create a podcast. And really what that means is it's a YouTube playlist. Honestly, it's just a YouTube playlist. What I'm not sure about is whether for the viewing or let's say consuming experience, if they let people just listen. Because the issue with YouTube videos is, for example, if I'm watching a long YouTube video, sometimes I do that. Maybe it's a long lecture. Sometimes I watch lectures that are, 3 or 4 hours long. I want to put my iPhone to sleep sometimes and walk or whatever and not have to worry about something touching the screen and closing it or pausing it, right? But if I have a YouTube video open, that happens all the time. If I'm listening to an audiobook on Audible, then that doesn't really happen because I can lock my phone and it keeps playing. What would be awesome on YouTube would be if they had a way for people to lock their screens and just listen if they wanted to. Because let's face it, some things you can just listen to. Everything I just said, if you don't see me, I don't think it's that important, right? I'm just sitting here in my futuristic living room on a foreign planet, and that's how it is. So, I don't know. They're a little slow on that, and I think they could probably get a lot more watch time because that's what YouTube cares about, right? They care about watch time. I think they could get a lot more watch time if they let people just listen, if they had a listen-only mode. And they don't have a listen-only mode, and I don't understand why. It's very weird. It's very weird, especially for long videos, podcasts, lectures. I listen to podcasts and lectures. Sometimes I've listened to 7-hour podcasts, and it's annoying, right? It's annoying to have to do that. Maybe one issue is the ads, right? Because the ads play, they want you to see the ads. Yeah, that's probably why. That's probably why. I just thought about it and realized why. All right, fair enough. It's a business decision. Makes sense. Okay, we're going to get into episode of a TV show. What's the difference between Retta says made and make? There's only one difference, and the difference is that made is the past tense of make. That's the difference. So if you want to use make in the past, let's say past tense, you did something. Cake. I made a cake. Okay. If you want to say that now, you're doing it in the moment, then you would use present progressive or continuous tense, which would be I am making cake. If you want to talk about the idea of making cake, then you might say, I want to make a cake. I want to make a cake. Or I will make a cake in the future. Or I'm going to make a cake in the future as well. That's the difference. I believe this option is available for premium subscribers on YouTube. Oh, really? That would be good. I'm thinking about subscribing to premium because I know it comes with a lot of things. I think including it includes YouTube Music as well. Anyway, let's get into our TB. I'm going to put on my earbud, AirPod, HomePod, and we're going to hop over here. We're going to watch a clip from Breaking Bad and learn some useful phrases for Breaking Bad. Okay? So let's do that. All right. My sound's working.
What can I do for you?
Nope. There we go. Is that working now? Ah, there we go. Hey. All right. Magda says, I have not subscribed yet. Always skip if they propose so, but at the same time, not so certain it would work the way you just described. Okay. Well, do me a favor. Get a job at YouTube, rise in the ranks, and make it happen. That's easy enough, right? Just a simple request. All right. We are going to learn some useful words and phrases from an episode of Breaking Bad. Iconic, classic. I'm sure you've seen at least clips from Breaking Bad. If you haven't watched it, it's amazing. But anyway, let's take a look at this scene and see if we can pick out a few useful words and phrases that we can learn in context. This is a conversation that Walter White is having at a very critical moment in his career, for lack of a better word, as a drug kingpin. Here we go.
What can I do for you?
Have a seat, please.
All right, well, let's start with that. What can I do for you is often used as a sort of customer service expression, but we're gonna skip that, honestly. We're going to focus on have a seat, okay? This is a very inviting expression, have a seat. So let's listen to that part again, and I want you to listen for have a seat, okay?
What can I do for you?
Have a seat, please.
Now, when you say this, it's often an invitation, and it feels very polite and kind of formal in some cases. You're inviting someone to sit down to usually talk about something serious or at least something important. It doesn't have to be super formal, but in this case you can see, hey, I don't want to just talk to you very quickly as you walk by the table. I have something very important to discuss with you. Have a seat, please. And this would be something your boss might say in your office, have a seat, right? Or in a job interview, take a seat is similar, but I would say it's a little bit less formal. Now, just quickly, just for fun, let's look at a few examples from ChatGPT. Please come in and have a seat while I prepare the documents for our meeting. As soon as you arrive at the restaurant, have a seat, and their waiter will bring you a menu. I know you're tired from your journey, so feel free to have a seat and relax for a few minutes. Now, that one feels a little bit more, let's say, casual, but I think it works. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable, and let's discuss your plans for the project. Most of these are kind of, I guess, slightly more formal sounding ways to use it, or at least formal, slightly more formal situations, right? So, okay, so let's actually keep going and listen for the next one.
I would like to know why you wouldn't meet with me yesterday.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Listen, I'm not following.
I sat here yesterday waiting to meet with someone.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. Okay, so I'm not following. What does this mean? Does that mean he followed him home? No. I'm not following is usually used when we want to say that we don't understand what somebody is saying. There's a line of thinking. or an idea that someone is trying to express, and I'm not sure what you're getting at. Now, in this case, he knows exactly what he's talking about, but he's very careful. Why? Well, they're talking about highly illegal drugs, and so they have to be very careful to make sure that they're not going to be, admitting anything to someone in law enforcement, right? So he has to be extremely, extremely careful. Let's see if we can look at a few phrases here from ChatGPT. ChatGPT says, let's see. I have to ask here. Give me some example sentences that include the phrase, I'm not following. Let's see what we get from ChatGPT. I'm not following your explanation. Could you please clarify your point? I'm not following the directions you gave me earlier. Can you guide me through the process again? You mentioned some technical terms, and I'm not following what they mean. Can you explain them in simpler terms? I'm not following your line of reasoning. So it's very common to use I. If you want to say that someone else is not, you could. If you see someone looks confused when you're trying to explain something, you can say, it seems like you're not following what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not following. Okay, so we don't have to say following what. We often just say, I'm not following, like Gus Fring does in this case. Okay? Very, very common. Let's watch that one more time here.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Pretending that he doesn't understand what's happening.
I
He
sat
understands.
here yesterday waiting to meet with someone. I believe that person was you.
I think that you're confusing me for someone else.
Now, we're not going to write that down, but confusing me for someone else. Confusing me for someone else. Very common expression. It's not me.
I don't think I am.
Sir, if you have a complaint, I suggest you submit it through our email system. I would be happy to refer you to our website.
I was told that the man I would be meeting with is very careful, a cautious man.
He does say refer you to our website. There, refer you to our website just means send you there. To refer you to another person or refer you to our website or our support page or something like that is a common sort of... He still has his customer service persona on, not his very powerful, dangerous drug lord persona.
I believe we're alike in that way. If you are,
I believe we're alike in that way. Listen to this.
a cautious man. I believe we're alike in that way.
I believe we're alike in that way. Now, you don't have to add in that way. I think we're a lot alike. I really think we're alike. So why would we say alike instead of like? We are alike. That is how we are. These two things are alike. So often you're comparing two things and saying similar, essentially. Why would you say alike instead of similar? Well, we could say similar. We could say, I believe we're similar in that way. For me, in this scene, similar would feel a little bit odd. Alike is more often used to talk about people and the behaviors of people, how they act, how they communicate, right? It's more of a human thing, whereas similar, yeah, okay, but often we're talking about maybe personality traits or how we look. We could be talking about all kinds of things, right? You could say those two houses are a lot alike, but I think it would be more common to say those two houses are very similar. But if we say the way that I act, the way that I behave is similar to the way that you behave, I might also say we're alike in that way, right? We're talking about our actions. So if you're focusing on those actions being similar or showing similar things about us, alike may be better.
A cautious man.
A cautious man.
I believe we're alike in that way.
Nice.
If you are who I think you are, you should give me another chance.
Give me another chance.
Who I think you are. If you are who I think you are, you should give me another chance.
So this is for context because they had one chance already. If you believe you're in a situation where another person has power or an advantage, or they can give you an opportunity and they have control over the situation, they have control over your destiny, and you want to request that they give you an opportunity, well, opportunity is quite formal. Often we say, please give me a chance. Give me a chance to prove myself. Give me a chance to show you. Give me a chance to impress you, okay? You could do that for friends, right? Your friends say, you can't cook, and you say, I can cook. Give me a chance to impress you. I'm going to cook for you this weekend. You're going to see I can cook. Give me a chance. So it's a less formal way and a very common way to talk about an opportunity. Another chance would mean you had one chance already, or maybe two. You failed. You made a mistake. You disappointed this person. They said no, perhaps. And now you want one more because something happened. In this case, his partner, Jesse, behaving like his partner Jesse because he's a drug addict, and so he wants to meet him directly to work out a deal, right? So how would we use this one? Let's ask ChatGPT, give me a few example sentences that include the phrase give me a chance or give me another chance. Okay, let's see what we get. This is, by the way, a great way to get example sentences and learn things in context. Just ask ChatGPT to give you a few examples. Could be ChatGPT or others. I think ChatGPT is still the best one right now. I know I made a mistake, but please give me a chance to make things right. I understand that my performance hasn't been great, but give me another chance. Could you give me a chance to explain my side of the story? I'm aware that I didn't meet your expectations last time, but give me another chance. I realize I wasn't prepared for the interview, but if you give me a chance, I'm confident I can demonstrate my skills and qualifications. Okay, let's move on.
I don't think we're alike at all, Mr. White.
That's where he changes.
You are not a cautious man at all.
Now he knows who
partner
he's
was
talking
late.
to.
And he was high.
Yes. Yes, he was.
He's high often, isn't he? You have poor judgment. I can't work with someone with poor judgment.
Are you familiar with my product?
Familiar means you know it a little bit. I'm familiar with that. I may not know everything about it, but I generally know that.
I've been told it's excellent.
It is impeccable. It is the purest, most
Impeccable means perfect. It is impeccable. Nothing better than that. No flaws, no mistakes. Impeccable timing.
chemically sound product on the market anywhere.
That is not the only factor.
You could charge twice the current rate for what I provide, and your customers would pay it. Hands down. Charge
Hands down.
twice
Listen for hands down.
the current rate for what I provide, and your customers would pay it. Hands down.
You could charge twice the current rate, and your customers would pay it. Hands down. So what is hands down? This is similar to another phrase, by far. By far, hands down. It means there's no question. It's not even close to the next competitor, right? This is the best apple pie I've had in my life, hands down. This is the most difficult experience I've ever gone through, hands down. This is, wow, this is probably the most beautiful thing that I'm holding in my hand that I've seen this week, hands down. So you can tie it inside of things like this week. It doesn't always have to be of all time, right? You could say, that's probably the best movie I've seen this year, hands down. That doesn't mean that it's the best of all time. I'm qualifying it with this year. But within this year, it is hands down the best. That means the second competitor is not even close, okay? Let's see what our old pal ChatGPT has to say about that. Would it be faster or slower if I copy and paste this and then just put in here hands down? Let's see what we get with that. ChatGPT. This is hands down the best pizza I've ever tasted in my life. She won the competition hands down, as her performance was far superior to others. The new software update is hands down the most user-friendly version we've had so far. The concert last night was hands down the most amazing live music experience I've ever had. He is hands down the most knowledgeable person on the subject in our entire group. Okay, so let's review that one more time just quickly here. We'll go back.
The current rate for what I provide and your customers would pay it. Hands down. Who I choose to do business with on my end is not your problem. You won't see him.
Now listen to that.
won't.
Who I do business
choose
with
to
is
do
not your
business
problem.
with on
Not
my
your problem.
end is not your problem. Who I choose to do business with on my end.
Who I choose to do business with on my end, means on my side. So you're just doing business with me. Don't worry about the people that I'm working with. It's not
Is not your problem.
your problem. It is not your problem. That means problem here is kind of used loosely, meaning you don't have to think about that. You don't have to deal with that. You're making decisions based on the fact that I'm working with a guy who's also addicted to drugs and he has issues, right? But you know what? You're doing business with me, and if I choose to work with him or not, it shouldn't have anything to do with you. You like my product, that's enough, right? I'll make sure it's good. I'll make sure that we deliver it on time, all of that, and I can have whatever relationships with people I want to have. It's not your problem. And in the same way, you could say if someone's telling you that something is something you should be worried about and you have nothing to do with it, you can say, hey, listen, that's not my problem. Now, that could sound a little cold. It could come across as abrasive. It could come across as dismissive. Not my problem, right? But that's what it means. It means that has nothing to do with me, okay?
Who I choose to do business with on my end is not your problem. You won't see him. You won't interact with him. Forget he exists.
I have to ask. Why? Why him?
Because he does what I say. Because I can trust him.
How much product do you have on hand?
On hand, it just means how much do you have right now with you, right? Available currently. That means you might have money, but you might not have any on hand, right? I pretty much never carry cash, but I might have, I don't know, $5 or $10 on hand. That means right now with me on hand.
38 pounds. Ready to go at a moment's notice.
Ready to go at a moment's notice. This is the last one we're going to talk about here.
How much product do you have on hand?
38 pounds. Ready to go at a moment's notice.
At a moment's notice. At a moment's notice. Okay? That means that if you need it, It's immediately available, right? So what is the purpose of a fire department? The fire department, their job is to be available at a moment's notice. Their job is to be ready to go if there's a fire, right? Any emergency responder needs to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this one. Now I can just paste this in and use at a moment's notice. Okay. Come on. Let's go, ChatGPT. Okay, there we go. As a firefighter, he needs to be, I used the perfect example. He needs to be ready to respond to emergencies at a moment's notice. The team should be prepared to adapt their strategy at a moment's notice. Our department must be able to provide technical support to clients at a moment's notice. As a journalist, she is always prepared to travel for breaking news stories at a moment's notice. As a parent, you have to be ready to handle unexpected situations with your children at a moment's notice. Notice for all of these, it's the same. At a moment's notice, at a moment's notice. That's because this is a set collocation. It is a set expression, right? And so it can't be changed around. You can't make any changes with it, okay? So we have talked about have a seat. We have talked about not following. We've talked about we're alike. Another chance. Give me another chance. Hands down. Not your problem. And at a moment's notice. Can you use these yourself? Can you use them at a moment's notice? I'm tempted to say it's not my problem, but it kind of is. I hope so. Try them yourself. If you want to, you can share your examples in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, get a free course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description. All right. Hello. I recently found this channel. Glad to hear it. Thank you for your passion in teaching from Korea. Well, I'm not teaching from Korea. I'm assuming you're in Korea. I'm assuming so. All right. We're going to keep on moving here. Again, if any questions come up for those viewing live, let me know. I'll see what I can do. If we have any interesting questions. But otherwise, we're just going to keep on trucking. We're going to keep on moving. And we're going to get into grammar, actually. I have a specific grammar point that I want to talk about, which, well, you'll see. You will see. And then we're going to get into using ChatGPT as a language communication partner, as a study buddy, a language buddy. You'll see what I'm talking about for that too. So stick around. Great to have everybody here. Those watching and listening later, also great to have you. Thank you so much. Again, you can submit questions and reach out to me, get updates, notifications on Discord if you join the free Discord server. You can grab that free course or check out my other courses in the links in the description. You can also sign up for a monthly membership to access all of my courses. That is on the website. What else? Is there anything else? I think that's all for now. I'm working on a tool, feedback tool, that I think is going to be really useful, particularly for writing help, getting feedback on your writing to improve your writing, which I think will be very interesting. Okay. Oh, also, yeah, you can get 30% off of the monthly membership to the website. That's right. That's a big deal. Tea break time. You know what we can do during tea break? I know what we can do during tea break. Have you seen the Balenciaga stuff? It's very silly. This is where AI is going, for better or worse. This is where it's going.
Great.
I don't know if I can show or have the audio playing. They turn characters from movies into a certain look, sort of fashion icons. That's Dumbledore there. Your Balenciaga, Harry. That's also Dumbledore. McGonagall. That one's pretty good. Also McGonagall. There's Malfoy. This is crazy. And this person is doing it, Demon Flying Fox is doing it for a bunch of stuff. So there's a Harry Potter one. There's a Breaking Bad one we just watched. There's a Breaking Bad one, apparently. I haven't seen this one yet. I just want to see what it looks like. They look very, very fashionable. There's Jesse. I don't know. Who is that? Oh, that's Jesse's girlfriend from the show. That one drug dealer guy. Saul Goodman, I think. Yeah. Anyway. I don't know who that is. That's Walter White. Oh, great. There's Gus, the guy who was just in this the scene we just watched. That's the Balenciaga version of Gus Fring. There you go. There you go. All right. Anyway, back to business. All right, we're going to get into noun phrases. And I think this is an interesting one, right? What is a noun phrase? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. How can you identify it? Why should we learn what a noun phrase is? All in good time. Actually, no, I can tell you right now. A noun phrase is a phrase that acts as a noun. What is a phrase? More than one word together. That's what a phrase is. And you can have adjective phrases, you can have prepositional phrases, and you can have noun phrases. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that there is a noun right at the start. It could mean that, but often there are other things around it and in front of it that will tell you at least here is a noun phrase or here comes a noun phrase, right? I'm going to teach you, or I'm going to show you what you might see that will help you identify a noun phrase. And then I'm going to give you some examples, and we're going to sort of dive into it and explore. But in general, if you want to find a noun phrase, look for the nouns in the sentence. Okay, that's a noun. At least there's one of those. And see if there are other pieces connected to it that are about it. And the greatest test is to see if you could remove the whole thing and replace it with it or that or them or something like that, some sort of pronoun. You can replace it with that to know that it is a contained phrase, right? You also want to look for determiners. A determiner is a word like the or it or that. It tells you, for example, what we're pointing at, what we're looking at. Determiners sort of specifically identify something in a sentence. You also want to look out for adjectives. Why? Because adjectives often go before the noun. So if you see a blue, then blue is before a noun, then the thing after it could be a noun phrase. So these are just things to look out for. You might also see modifiers. Now, an adjective is a modifier, is a type of modifier. But you can have other modifiers as well that are somehow about the noun, the main noun, the noun that we're talking about, that might be a noun phrase that could give you a little bit more information. But again, the best test, I think, is to just see if you can replace the whole thing with some kind of pronoun. And if you can do that, it's likely to be a noun phrase. If you can replace a noun with one pronoun, like it, for example, there's a good chance, right? And why should we do this? Well, we should know this because often sentences look very complicated, but when you really break them down, they're not that complicated. And I think noun phrases are a great example because they can be quite long. We're going to look at some longer ones, some shorter ones. They can be very long and make a sentence look very complicated, but then you realize, oh, that whole thing can just be replaced with it. And so that's easy. So it can help you to deeply understand how grammar works and not get overwhelmed, and that's going to obviously make you more powerful when it comes to using grammar naturally, right? Okay, so let's get into it. We look for a noun. The main word in a noun phrase is always a noun. It doesn't mean that it always comes first, but it is there, right? The noun is the key thing there. Places, things, ideas, it's always there. Look for determiners. Determiners might include articles like, as I mentioned, the, but can also include things like my, his, her, this, that, those, for example. These are specific determiners which come before a noun and provide information about it, right? So if you say these dandelions, well, it's telling you which ones, not those dandelions, but these dandelions, right? So that's what the determiner does. It determines things, right? Then the adjectives, as I said, they go before the noun, so that will help you identify it. And then for the modifiers, we might see adverbs around it or in it, and sometimes they go after. So you just have to be aware of the different types of modifiers that you could see and how those can help you identify noun phrases. So why don't we just get into some examples, right? We're going to start with, I couldn't resist ordering a delicious chocolate cake. Okay. Now, what do we have here? Well, where's the noun in this? Cake. There it is. That's pretty easy. Chocolate is a noun too, right? Yes, it can be, but also chocolate is modifying cake. So this is where we look for modifiers that may be nouns, but sometimes not. Because chocolate is before cake there, we know that cake is the main noun, and chocolate is being used as an adjective, as a modifier, modifying cake. And so is delicious. Now, delicious cannot be a noun by itself. Deliciousness can be a noun, but that's kind of weird, right? Unless it's an apple. There's an apple called a golden delicious, in which case that is the name of the apple, and that's a noun. But delicious is always an adjective, pretty much. And chocolate could be a noun, but can be used as an adjective, and is called a modifier in this case. And then we have the determiner, a. So this whole thing, a delicious chocolate cake, now we need to test it to see if we can replace it with a specific pronoun. So I couldn't resist ordering. Now can we replace this with the word it or that? Let's see if it sounds natural. I couldn't resist ordering this, that, it. Absolutely. I couldn't resist ordering it. So what I like to do to test it is I like to say it twice, the first time as it is, and then the second time I will say it with the pronoun that I want to use to replace it. I couldn't resist ordering a delicious chocolate cake. I couldn't resist ordering it. So I want to repeat it to emphasize it. I think that can give us a pretty good clue and a pretty good idea that yes, this indeed is a noun phrase. This whole thing is a noun phrase. Now let's look at the next one here. I asked her who bought that beautiful painting on the wall. Now, one thing I didn't mention is prepositional phrases. So a prepositional phrase is a phrase that starts with a preposition that has a preposition right at the beginning and tells you about the position of something. But that doesn't mean that a prepositional phrase like over the hill, that's a prepositional phrase, or after brunch, or within 30 minutes of the party ending, right? Those sorts of prepositional phrases, they can also be inside of a noun phrase. So I asked her who bought that beautiful painting on the wall. The question you have to ask yourself is, are all of these things about the noun? Well, what's the noun? Painting. In this case, the painting, that painting is what we want to talk about. It is the noun of this phrase. That is a determiner telling me it's that one and not that one, right? Beautiful, okay, basic adjective, okay, modifying painting, okay. On the wall, prepositional phrase. But now we have to ask ourselves, is that prepositional phrase telling us something about the painting? Yes, it is. And so we can say that that whole thing, painting is the noun, that is the determiner, adjective beautiful, and modifier on the wall, which is a prepositional phrase. So it's a prepositional phrase and it is a modifier. Why is it a modifier? Because it's telling you something about something else. That's what a modifier is, by the way. A modifier is a word or phrase that simply tells you something else about another word or phrase in a sentence. That's what a modifier is. An adjective is a modifier. An adverb is a modifier. Well, a prepositional phrase in this case is a modifier, modifying what? Painting. What is it modifying? Well, we know it's beautiful, so adjective is modifying beautiful as an adjective is modifying painting, but on the wall is modifying our understanding of painting in regards to its position. We know where it is. It's on the wall. So that prepositional phrase is part of the noun phrase. Now we must test it though. We need to see if it all makes sense. So what we have to do is replace it with a preposition. Can we do it? And by the way, there are exceptions to this. This is just a general test. I'm not giving you a hard rule. There's some phrasing that sounds odd when you replace it with the preposition. I just think it's a pretty good test that can tell you, okay, it's probably a noun phrase. Okay. So how would we say this? I asked her who bought that beautiful painting on the wall. I asked her who bought it. Perfect. It works. Well, beautiful. Then that is definitely a noun phrase. Next one. Next week, I'm helping take care of my sister's cat. Okay. Now I say of my sister's cat. The of, that's a preposition, right? Well, in this case, it's not part of the noun phrase because it is, number one, not giving details about this, right? It's a part of the bigger sentence. Okay, so what's going on here? Did I read it correctly? Next week, I'm helping take care of my sister's 2 cats. Okay. Did I say it wrong the first time? I feel like I said cat instead of 2 cats. 2 cats. Okay. My sister's 2 cats. If this is a noun phrase, what are the pieces? Cats. All right, we've got our basic noun. Got it. Determiner. My. Again, not hers, not his. My. My what? My sister. So in this case, sister is, or sisters rather, is a modifier modifying what? Well, it's modifying 2 cats because it's telling me more about them. So it's a modifier as a possessive noun phrase. So it's kind of a noun phrase by itself, right? It's telling me something more. Possessive because it's sisters, not sister. And then 2 is used as an adjective in front of cats here. So My sister's 2 cats as a whole thing. And often you see these determiners right at the beginning of the noun phrase, and that's a good often indication, okay, this might be a noun phrase, especially if it's possessive. My sister's 2 cats, to tell you it's one big piece. Can we say, next week I'm helping take care of them? Well, let's try it. Next week I'm helping take care of my sister's 2 cats. Next week I'm helping take care of them. Absolutely. Them. We have to use them instead of it because we're talking about 2 cats. So it has to be plural. And if it's plural, then it would be in this case, them. All right. We have one more example to talk about here. This one is, deep in the forest we discovered an old house with a blue door. An old house with a blue door. Okay. So deep in the forest we discovered what? What is the thing that we discovered? Well, it's a thing. What is the thing? It's a house. Okay, so houses are noun. Well, how many houses? 1. How do we know? N. So N is our determiner. But you might say, well, N is an article. Yes, articles are determiners too. My is a determiner. This is a determiner. N is a determiner. Just because something is one thing doesn't mean it's also not another thing, right? Adjective is a modifier. It's a specific type of modifier, right? Speaking of adjectives, old. Okay, so that tells me something about the house. But we have another adjective here, blue, with a blue door. Okay, well, we have a kind of prepositional phrase here, with a blue door. But is that whole piece telling me something else? Just like with the other one, we have now a phrase that's telling us about the other thing in this noun phrase, which is house. What kind of house? An old house. So we have one adjective in front of house, old, which is giving us a detail. And then with a blue door, we're now, imagine if you use with, you're kind of adding pieces to it. With a blue door, with an old roof, with a thatched roof, with a chimney, with a fairy ring around it, right? With a is sort of like clicking on Lego pieces. So it's absolutely a modifier for house because it is telling you more about the house. So an old house with a blue door is a noun phrase, and we can test it as we have so far. Deep in the forest, we discovered an old house with a blue door. Deep in the forest, we discovered it. So we could just replace an old house with a blue door with it, and we've got it. Okay? We've got it. There you go. So this is not super easy. Why should you learn this? If you can understand this, you can start to break sentences down and understand the pieces without getting lost in there being a lot of words, right? And also understand that, big sentences, long sentences, complicated sentences, they're rarely complicated because it's impossible to understand. They're often complicated because they have a lot of pieces working together. And if you can begin to understand these pieces that work together, you can then become a great writer. You can then understand sentences that you didn't understand before, right? You become a kind of wielder of the language, and that's something you want. So grammar is not boring in this way. If you're learning these pieces and understanding this stuff, now you can start using it, and that makes you, I think, powerful. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe or follow. And also, feel free to get a free English course to improve your English conversation skills. That is called Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description. Okay. Glad to hear it, Magda. Hello, Carolina. Hello, Carolina. Welcome and good to have you here. It's good to have you here. Where's my thing? We're back to my new living room. This living room I've been working on for a long time. Adding all of the pieces. It's tough. Wow, it's tough. It's tough. Making a futuristic living room is not easy. Okay. KOK. Hi, I'm from Russia. Hello, KOK. Welcome. We're going to be getting to using ChatGPT here in a few minutes. And then I think we're going to call it a day pretty soon. Pretty soon. Give me 1 second. To send a text. Let's hop over to ChatGPT. And I'm gonna grab something to copy and paste. Here we go. One of the issues with using ChatGPT to improve your English is it's hard to have that really conversational feeling, right? To feel like you're having a conversation with ChatGPT. And there are a few things we can do while we're waiting for, I think, a really polished version to come out. I'm going to show you here what I did to basically create a conversation partner so that you can actually practice speaking English. It's not perfect, but it's, I think, a good stopgap. And the nice thing about it is that you can make revisions as you want. And that's, I think, key. That's very important, okay? So I've downloaded a plugin, and the plugin here is called, I'll show you, and I'm not sponsored by them, so I don't really want to endorse them. I think it's a temporary thing. It's okay, it's not perfect. It's called Voice Control for ChatGPT, and it's in the Chrome extension plugin store. Plugin or extension, I get confused. Extension store, whatever, who cares? Anyway, once you do that, you then get this. So far, it's been free. I haven't hit any paywalls yet. Who knows? And you can basically have someone to talk with. You can choose the voice that you want. And that's one step. Okay, so now if you wanted to, you could say anything in here and it would turn it into text. It doesn't do sentence breaks. So really good transcription will actually break the sentences down for you. And I'm sure we'll get there, but it's just a straight text, voice to text. But the next stage is you have to train it, right? So I'm going to include a prompt here. And this is a prompt that I've developed, not necessarily to have a teacher, but more of a conversation partner. But I don't just want a conversation partner. I want a partner who's going to sometimes give me feedback. And this can go as long as I want, and then you can just stop the conversation. But this is a good way to practice, to have spoken conversations. So I'll paste this in. Here's the prompt. Act as an English teacher and conversation partner, and ask me interesting questions on the topic of travel. Only ask one question at a time and then wait for my reply. After my reply, ask different questions within the topic. Don't only dive into one line of questioning. Keep the conversation dynamic and interesting. Throughout the conversation, provide specific corrections of my English grammar, phrasing, and vocabulary usage using the format, then colon, and then I have this format instead of ... You could say ... Okay, now, one thing to notice here on the topic of, so this is where you change the topic. I want to say on the topic of, instead, social media. All right, so I want to change the topic. This is where you have the chance to sort of put in your own topic. And then we could say, if you understand, say, I understand, and ask the first question. All right, so let's try it out. Let's see how it works. I've done quite a bit of testing with this on GPT-4, but currently I'm using GPT 3.5, and let's see what we get with GPT 3.5.
I understand. What social media platforms do you use regularly and why?
All right, so she understands, and she has the first question. So here we go. And I'm going to make some deliberate mistakes here. I don't very like to use all the social media platform, especially the Facebook and the Twitter, because they making me feel depressing sometime. Usually I like to use the Discord and the YouTube. I thinking that the YouTube is very nice and good ways to communication and learn things. I don't know what that was.
Great job.
Right, great job.
Just a few corrections. Instead of I don't very like to use, you could say I don't like to use very many. Instead of the Facebook, you could say Facebook. Instead of they making me feel depressing, you could say they make me feel depressed. Instead of sometime, you could say sometimes. Instead of usually I like to use, you could say I usually like to use. Instead of the YouTube, you could say YouTube. Instead of I thinking, you could say I think. What type of content do you usually watch on YouTube?
Okay, so I think we have a pretty good response here. It's almost too many corrections. I would then maybe specify in the prompt, you could say, give me, throughout the conversation, provide specific corrections of my grammar, no more than 3. But let's just leave it. You know, I gave a fairly long reply, and so there was a lot of stuff, and I could really pick out a few things here. There's a big issue with the Facebook, and then I did it again, the YouTube. Great correction. A lot of people use the incorrectly when they shouldn't use the. I don't like to use very many. Okay, that's much more natural. Instead of sometime, you could say sometimes. Yep, very good. I thinking, you could say I think. So this is good feedback, and we've got a conversation going. So let me give a quick response, and then we'll see what happens if I ask for maybe a bit more depth in the feedback. This can just keep going forever, honestly. You can ask it to change topics. You can ask it for to maybe follow up on some feedback and explain it further. There are a lot of different ways you could go with this. We're really just looking at this as sort of a conversation partner. Okay, so most of time I watching YouTube video about interesting thing, especially historical thing and university lecture. My favorites kind of videos to watching is long video, such as about alchemy and the universe.
Great job. Here are
Thank
some
you.
minor corrections. Instead of most of time, you could say most of the time. Instead of interesting
So
thing,
most of
you
the
could
time
say interesting
most
things.
of the time.
Instead of
Okay,
university
most of time.
lecture,
Yeah,
you
of
could say
course.
university
Interesting
lectures.
Interesting things.
Instead of
university
my
lecture.
favorites kind of videos, you could say my favorite kind of videos. Instead of watching is long video, you could say watching a long videos. Do you think social media has had a positive or negative impact on society as a whole?
I think this
Why?
one's not quite right? That one's a little off. And they're not all going to be perfect, I think. So maybe for that reason, having a few more is useful, right? University lecture, university lectures. Now let's ask a follow-up question. Let's just say, can you explain, oh, why is it all caps? Can you explain why university lecture is incorrect? So we're asking a follow-up question here. I want to know. Oh. Let's try. What? Why? What? Regenerate response. There was an error. What's the error? It's not showing me. What? Okay, let me hit refresh here. I hope it doesn't make me redo the whole thing. Oh, okay, but I can go back to the chat. Okay. Can you please explain why university lecture is incorrect?
Certainly. University lecture is not grammatically incorrect, but it is less commonly used than university lectures. Since we typically refer to lectures as a plural noun, it is more natural to say university lectures.
Plural.
However, if you were talking about a specific lecture at a specific university, it would be correct to say university lecture.
Okay, so that's actually a great follow-up response to explain the issue is that I was saying it as a singular, but actually what I should have said is the plural lectures because I wasn't talking about a specific lecture. That's actually a great explanation, right? So I would encourage you to play with this. If you find another extension or plugin that works, that's fine. I don't think it matters so much as long as it works. But I think the key is to tune it so that you're able to have a conversation that flows, so that you can practice speaking and get feedback close to in real time. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to be able to have video conversations with an AI teacher one-to-one who can give us this kind of feedback for sure. But in the meantime, well, we have to kind of do it this way. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you discover any interesting ways to adjust or change the prompt to get interesting results, to get interesting feedback, to have more natural flowing conversations. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, let me know if you haven't done so already. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, get a free course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description. All right. I'm glad to hear it. Magda. Hello, Clau. Hello, hello. KOKs. Can you post your request to the ChatGPT in the description? Yeah, actually, let me update that right now. So for those, let's see, I can't do it all at one time though. All right, I'll do it after. I will do it after. But you could just, you could just screenshot it. That's not ideal, I suppose. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. At least I can put it in the chat on YouTube. Let me open this up quickly.
I want to introduce you to a platform that is helping
Give me 1 second. All right, I will pop that in the chat. Oh, it's over the limit. It's too much text. Well, all right. I will update the description to add the prompt. Let me do it now before I forget. After the links, of course. Here is the prompt I used with ChatGPT. Okay, and I'll put that in there. Okay, and then save. All right, so it should now be in the description. So check that out. Again, that's only going to be on YouTube for now, but I will make sure that also goes out in the audio version. All right. Well, friends, neighbors, citizens, non-citizens, whatever, thank you so much for joining me this morning and afternoon. It's been hopefully interesting. I think it's been interesting and fun. Hopefully enlightening. Hopefully you learned a few things. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button or share it or whatever you want to do. Don't forget to check out the full courses. 30% off the monthly membership. You can get access to all my courses. 30% off. Also, if you want to join the Discord, you can do that for free. So join the Discord server. Check out the other links as well in the description. And I will hopefully see you next week. So take care, everybody, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.